Are you able to hear me? Testing, testing. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, let me start with this. The first post that was that of Sandy's, I think. Hold on a second, I think I have it in a private message here somewhere. Sandy. Yeah. So this was the first post. She said something about, I think it's a she. Looking at the location, it's pretty funny what I'm seeing here. Well, if it's a she, then she said something like, in order to reverse, think Warface. This is the game that we're looking at, and it's built with CryEngine. I think I've looked it up online. Warface and wiki. Then here, Warface, and it says here it's built with CryEngine 3. So it's basically a multiplayer game, and of course, whenever people talk about multiplayer games, shooters, they want to probably reverse the engine that the game is built on to find stuff like critical information for aimbots. So that's the reason for this post here. So I found this one, and then I followed it a bit. I basically have IDA running, and of course I've set it to analyze the executable for Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, sorry, after having dumped it on the disk. And in this tutorial, she says something like, the first thing we want to find is this pointer, which is called, let me scroll. Yeah, it's called S System Global Environment. Apparently, if you check the source code for CryEngine, you'll find some references about it. You'll also find the structure, how the structure is built up, and what pointers it contains, and where these pointers lead you to. The goal here is to get a pointer to a structure, and to make use of those pointers inside this structure. Those pointers will lead you to any subsystems you have in the game, like the one for actor, the one for health for actor, the one for coordinates, weapon, of course, and skeleton, bones, whatever these guys needed for creating an aimbot. So what she did here was to basically teach you how to get to those things. These are the steps in summary. So it teaches you to get iGame offset, iRenderer, iSystem, iPhysical world, iEntity system, iTimer, iConsole, and Ray world intersection. These here, all of these here are basically used for the aimbot. I didn't get in depth. I don't know how these would work out in a C++ source code. I did take a quick look at the Warface SDK he created, and this is the list of classes. As you can see, this is the class called System Global Environment, and inside it has pointers to all sorts of shit that you need. And then you have iGame, which is this one here, for example, and then you have the class for it. Of course, you don't know each of these virtual functions, which I referred to earlier as being used as that pointer that you see at offset 0, and then, yeah. And these are multiple functions, but if you get what these functions do, you can actually work with them later on. So this is basically the class's source file, header file, actually, where the definitions are. And then there's this hook tool I looked at. I basically ignored everything that has to do with DirectX because I'm not interested in it. I don't want to do any hooking or shit like that. She has probably, this is very well known, the find pattern function. I also saw that she's using, for example, for find pattern, she has one that is optimized to use MMX commands. So I'm pretty sure this is way faster than its regular one. Then memory write, whatever log, the aimbot does. It's quite a big source, but further on you can see here, for example, iActor system, pointer iActor system. It runs this function called get iActor system. And then considering she's defined everything here in the classes, then you can have, the relationship between these. So you have SS global environment pointer, then you take out the pointer for pgame, which is the iGame reference in SS, this one, in S system global environment. And then inside pgame, you get to run function called get iGame framework, returns a pointer in EAX, and then, or maybe, oh, sorry, so it's pgame, and then you have get iGame framework to run get iActor system. So at the end of it all, you return actor system, which is basically the system which you will use in conjunction with an ID to retrieve the pointer to the actual player. That base offset, that base pointer that you'll usually obtain when you look for health. In CryEngine, I think that's the base, that's the structure called iActor. So you have the iActor system, and inside it, if you give it a certain ID, the system will return the pointer to your pawn, the pointer to your character. So this is basically how it works. And further on, so here's get my actor. Then, so she gets the system, it returns it in actor system, and then to do get my actor, she's looking at, again, S system global environment, pgame, get iGame framework, and get client actor, and she uses my actor, but my actor, as you can see, is a pointer obtained from iActor. So you basically need to know which is the ID that you need for this function to return the pointer to the player structure, yeah. And so on and so forth. There's tons of shit related to positioning, to bones, or crap like this used in aimbots, calculating distances, if a player is visible or not, because, well, you have to. And then there's the physical real-world intersection to know if, well, your cone of view can intersect with the player model. If it's behind a wall or something like that, you can use this API or this function to return 1 or 0, and so on and so forth. Let's see, key state, fast call, reset fonts, everything like that's following this is basically DirectX rendering and functions. And scrolling all the way down, I didn't see any. There's a lot of shit going on here. These are the settings for the aimbot. Go to panic mode. I don't know what this does. And of course, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that you cannot find any other functions or whatever functionality that would require processing of CryEngine data. But this is like a brief description. So what I wanted to do was to replicate the same information, this one here, in Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, and that is because of the second thread, this one here, where some guy shared how the classes look like in Sniper Ghost Warrior 2. So the first thing I did was to get IDA open, and then followed the first part in the tutorial to determine where S system global environment pointer is. And the way to do it is to open up string references and look for this AI compatibility mode, and you shall find it. And it's right here. So once you double click on this and obtain the references from it, you have 2 locations. The first location takes you to something like this. And of course, sorry, the second, like, well, it doesn't really matter which is the location, and keep in mind, yeah, I did name it like that, so it usually was like this. So whichever location you go to, you'll see something like this. And then if you use hextrace, then she says something like, okay, you have to find the string, you have to find the references to it. You have to go to the reference, and this is a location similar to what I had. And then you have to use hex race to decompile the function. And then she says here that you see this double word where you have the offset, and then you have a compatibility mode right under it. Well, it's something like this here, as you can see. So you have this, you have the offset here. But if you look in the beginning of the function, you also see crisis here. So I think this is the one that I should be renaming to as system global environment. So now when you close this, you can see that this one here is already renamed. So in our quick example here, S system global environment is this address. So now if I open the game, sec, and then also CryEngine, you'll have to wait a bit because the fucker, and of course I have to lower the volume for a bit because it just blew my ears off. Yeah, you probably don't see anything because the movies play, and when they do, they take up all the screen, but then once they finish, the focus will go to the game again. So there you go. We're back at the game. Okay. Ooh, more people joining the voice channel. Cool. So now the game's loaded. I have to enter a map because otherwise, well, I can look at the pointer, but I will not have any valid references because the player is not loaded in the world and whatever. So just let me get in game. I'll just pause the game after that. Come on, you fucker. Load.
Solid work, teams. Keller, you and your men secure the location
Okay.
for our bird. We're also sending supplies and 2 additional elements. Anderson.
Okay. So now, if I'm looking at IDA, I see that S system global environment is this address here. So what I wanted to do is to go with CryEngine to this location. And then I saw that when going to this pointer, if you set display type to 4 bytes hexadecimal, you see that the value is this one. Now, if you check so we're basically done with the checks tutorial. So this one, I can close it because I don't have a need for it anymore. And that is because I then found this other thread. And this thread contains this code here, namespace, whatever, which I moved to a file separately. So the guy here says that here's the stuff I've been working on for the last 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. I also private messaged him to ask him some questions about it. He basically didn't look at it for 3 years because it's written in like 2014, like 3 years ago. But he did reply. And he said here you can do tons of shit aside from what he included here. Of course, he just provided some information, not all of it. And, well, I copy-pasted this to this document, and then I started looking at S system global environment because that is the structure that I'm looking at. So I have a pointer. It says here it's 3855B F490, but in memory, if you look at it, it actually points to this double word which I referenced to you here. So if you look at that value and then you look at this document, you will see something funny, like this location here. See? So the thing is, if, for example, I looked at this document and I wouldn't have seen the same value that I have on screen right now, I would have said, oh, fuck it, they don't match. So basically, this information that the guy posted here is not for my version of the game. So what I would have done, because I want to learn this shit, would be to what I would have done would have been to get the correct version of the game for which that pointer matched to whatever the guy has in this file. But luckily, I was able to find it. Yeah. So what's going on for? Hold on a second. I think other people wants to. Oh, I think I'll just need to make a meeting, and then everyone join in. Because so you may want to pause the video for a bit. TeamViewer also has this option to allow you to use microphone or whatever, but I'm already connected with it on Discord. Okay, so STN says the presentation works, so you may connect to it whenever you want. So what's going on next is what I did was to take a look at the pointer, which you can see here, and thought of it, well, I have two options. The first one is to either add this to the list like I did, like so. So this is the pointer, and my initial intention was to map everything under it. I also had a screenshot, I think. Don't remember if I did save it or, yeah, I didn't save it on the disk, but anyway. I saved a screenshot of this because at some point CryEngine froze when I debugged one of the functions, like get actor or something like that, and I didn't know why it kept on freezing, and I also mentioned this to Darkbyte on Discord, but that's about it. And back to this, well, you can see that the pointer is valid. You can see that the pointer in my table leads to this address 3830F AEB8, which is the same one in the file here. So then I started mapping everything. I basically read this as a class which has the size of 96E. The guy was kind enough to also provide the size of it all. So if you go to this address, oh, sorry, let's do it this way. Hex, and then, what the hell? Why doesn't spacebar work? God damn it. Okay. And Control G doesn't work as well. Really? Go to address 3830F AEB8. No, I don't want to turn on any narrator, motherfucker. I think there's some shit with, yeah, that one. That's the problem I had. Apparently, TeamViewer hooks some functionality of the keyboard, and whenever you try to press space or Control G or whatever in CryEngine, it doesn't let you to do that. So I went inside this structure, and I thought of it, well, instead of writing everything here, why don't I just, dissect data structures, and then I just define a new structure. What the fuck? Well, I have a little problem with the keys presenting. What the fuck is going on with the keys here? I'm trying to, participants can see each other, screen sharing, filebox, video, whiteboard. So my problem is, cancel. My problem is I cannot use any, if I try to type T, some shit is going on in the background. See? What the hell? Whiteboard off. Maybe. No, it's not this one. What the fuck? Okay. Really, I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second. I'm going to just kick everyone. Be right back, because I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm trying to press keys and no, thing is I'm trying to type something and I think the window is changed. See the general tab, general channel. But what the hell is... Okay, let me know when you're in. Yeah, control or whatever doesn't work anymore. All back to normal. Okay. So this language C++, this shit, then I'll just motherfucker Steam and CryEngine. Play. Now the same thing will happen. A few moments of commercials. Commercial. Fuck you, CryEngine 3 and NVIDIA and whatever comes next. Iyama. Monitors for gamers. Okay. So hopefully the shit will work now. No, Control G. Control G does work. Yay! So I'm just going to load the table once more. Go here. Where was it? This. So now when I press space on this fucker, it takes me to the structure. That's what I wanted. So the guy here said this is the class for that version of the game, which apparently seems to be the same one that I'm running. And he says here that in S system global environment, the first pointer is the pointer to iSystem. So what I did was to tools, dissect data structures, define new structure, let's call it test, let CryEngine do its stuff. And then what I actually did was to take this here and just use it like this. It's basically I'm telling CryEngine to dissect the structure that is referenced by that pointer, by game plus 15B F490. I also could have written, you know, this directly, and it would still point to the same location, because if I delete it, it should not be, well, it's valid and it's still valid. Anyway, so now, the guy said that the pointer to iSystem P system is at offset 0. So this is a pointer, and I just take this one and call it like so. So I have P system. Then I have at offset 4, I have P game. And so on and so forth. Framework is at 8. Network is at C. Then render is at 10. Well, you can map them in order looking at this information here. What I actually didn't need at all, well, he got them from mapping them to the actual S system global environment header in the SDK, yeah. But thing is, in the SDK, they're listed in a certain order. They're like ordered in the structure list, but when you compile the game and structures are allocated and shit like that happens, they're, well, not presented there in the same order. So you basically have to figure out which is which, and to do so you'll have to know some code resemblance or how the functions look like. The thing is, Warface and Sniper Ghost Warrior 2 are built with probably the same version of CryEngine. It's still the x86 version, so they pretty much look alike. So whoever did this for Sniper Ghost Warrior 2 got the references from Warface. So he could, look at how the code looks there and how the code looks here. That's why probably it took him several weeks to do this, as he said it in the post, because he had to code resemblance to figure out which is which. And yeah, that's how he mapped them. Yeah. So after you map all the stuff that I'm trying to do here comes the rewarding part of it. You have further down, if you scroll, you have stuff like, let's see, stuff like, you have this P-actor system, E-actor system. What this actually tells me is that in order to get to the structure for our player, you have two options. The first one, of course, would be to look for the health information and then debug it and obtain the pointer, the base pointer, and that would probably be the pointer for your player in game. The other way is to do it like this with structures, starting from S system global environment and getting to the player pointer. And the way to do that is, as you can see, iActor system get iActor system. This function is a function inside iGame framework, and iGame framework, if you scroll a bit up, is a pointer inside. Well, it's a structure inside iGame, I think. I'm not sure if it's referenced. Well, no, it's also here. So it's the the third pointer in S system global environment. If you look at this is the pointer. And then if we go back to this one here, you have get iActor system. So what you need to do is get inside iGame framework, and then this is the iGame framework, and then this is a pointer here. I'm just going to call it pgame framework because it's the reference to, yeah. So you have a pointer. Now, yeah, it's the get iActor system. If you count them, is the 26th actually, because that's what this tells me here. Because it starts from 0 and then, yeah. And then inside the pgame framework, if you expand this, you'll see that CryEngine tried to, well, analyze the code here, but it looks like in awful shape. You can see 1A, 1C, 1B. They're not all 4-byte aligned. So what you can do is scroll all the way down, and you'll also see something interesting. Failed to initialize game, banned from server, some string information, Punkbuster server will not be blah, 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 and so on and so forth. This is part of the game framework, all the information that you're seeing here. So to know if the structure is okay and if it's the right one, you can also look at the information presented here. I think there were some references about a framework somewhere, but well, that's about it. So what I did was to go all the way down to where strings started appearing, like here, and then change element 4 bytes hexadecimal, and that was about it. Now, if I scroll all the way up and count 26 times 4, calculator would also help. 26 times 4, you get offset 98. So if you go to 98, I think this is the one. Let's just do also a manual count. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's also a problem, as in I have to basically remove all of this because the offsets are not aligned, and it takes more time for you to actually manually change them than delete them and insert them manually. So what I'll do is I'll press insert. I'll just put it at 4 bytes hexadecimal, and then just insert enter. And now you can see nicely aligned double words on the value column. Yeah. So now let's count 26 here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's actually 68. But because the code was basically fucked up in there, I got to 98. I don't know how. So what I'm going to do is take this, actor system, get actor system, and just call it like that. Now, if I take this and go to it in memory, you'll see this is a function. Well, I think I counted a bit one more. So, because I know it's not this function. I think it's this one. Yeah, and I'll also tell you why, because after you see all this information here with the functions, so basically the next one is the get iSystem. Let me just tag it as well. I don't need well, I might need get iSystem, but for now, what you can do is also delete the elements, scroll all the way down to the end of it, and just delete the elements, and you're left with only what you need. So why I know this, that I fucked up with counting and it's 64, not 68, because if you scroll down, it will tell you that the actor system is at offset 4C4. So if you look inside this function, well, take a look at this. Move EAX, ECX plus 4C4. Well, it's the same offset that you see here. So this is correct. Yeah. The same goes for rule system, and this offset is basically a location inside P-game framework. So basically, if I go to 4C4 inside that function, I will find the P-actor system. So 4C4. And up. So we have the pointer to some of the functions that can be executed inside P-game framework, and then we also have the location of P-actor system, meaning this one here, 4C4. So that is basically what I did further on. And now if you go to, well, that's the actual system, the actor system. But what we want to find out is where the actor is, meaning our player. So in order to find our player, you can see an iterator here, then you can see class iActor system, and then you see here get actor. So in iActor system, which is the pointer that we just found, P-actor system, see class iActor system, P-actor system. So after we get the pointer from this location here, we can go inside it. Then, of course, turn this into a pointer again because it will lead to some functions. And then inside this pointer, let me just call it P-actor system. And inside of this, of course, you can see C-actor system, it says here. So you have a reference to whatever structure you're inside by just scrolling a bit and checking for some string references. C-actor system, actor params, entity class params, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So what it is said here in iActor system is that you have 1, 2, 3 functions. The fourth one is important to us, and that's because it gets the actor if you give it an entity ID. So I'm just going to take this one, count 4, 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one, it's at offset C, and just, do the same drill here, change element, 4 bytes hexadecimal, so we get functions, not pointers. And if you look now here, this is the function, and this basically, as you can see, it returns 4, so it expects a parameter, a single argument, to be passed on to the function. You can see it's being read from ESP plus 8, and the return of it is 4. And at the end of the function, you can see something being read from EDX plus 14. You just don't need to know that information exactly. What it says here, get actor, and it has one parameter, which is entity ID. And to find entity ID, well, I started a bit Prey and Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, and I noticed that this entity ID for the player, for the local player, is usually 7777 in hexadecimal. So 4 sevens. And one other reference that I found here in this file If you scroll a bit and look at some of the code, some of the function, you'll see something like this one here. And this is in iGame. So iGame function, iGame's class, and inside iGame class, the offset 88 inside it is the client actor ID. So let's just look for iGame. iGame is the second pointer in S system global information. So I'm just going to close this for now. We have iGame. Let's just call it pgame because it's a pointer, the one at 0, 0, and pointer, and of course references down here. And then if you look inside this one at 88, sorry, scroll too much, 88, you'll see, well, change element, hexadecimal. Well, right now I'm not in-game, but let me get in-game. And you'll see that 88 will change to, see, there it goes, boom, 007777. Yeah, so that's basically the player entity ID for the local player, meaning the one who's controlling the, yeah, the one who's controlling the player. If you want to, for example, get the IDs of all players, of course, the reason behind the function is to get all the IDs of the enemies that you would face in multiplayer. And of course, when you get those IDs, yeah, if you're using the ID with another function, you can get the name of the player, you can get the slot of the player, you can get several other information with just looking at virtual calls to functions that may use that ID. Well, player functions, stuff like that. You can also get the weapon that they're using. You can probably, well, if you're the host, I think if you're the host, you can probably change stuff like that for them. It would be funny. Oh, I have multiple people participating. I don't know why the keys fucked up previously, so I had to reboot. Luckily, I'm on SSD, and yeah. So pgame plus 88, this would be, where are you? iGame. So this would be the word client actor ID. Let me just label it like this. Delete everything in between, and also I don't need anything else scrolling all the way down. It's a bit tedious if you declare the structures to have like 4 kilobytes to actually scroll and go all the way down. But right now we were talking about this one, get iActor system. No, get iActor system, and then in iActor, where are you? There. Get actor by entity ID. So basically, if you want to get your player structure, you have get actor this is how you would get your player. So what I did in the cheat handler that I have here, I basically wrote a function that would make use of S system global environment, store some information wherever, and then just, obtain that information. As you can see here, I'm getting the pointer, I'm storing it, then I'm getting pgame, which is at EAX plus 4, I'm storing it, and then I get mClient actor ID, which is at offset 88 in pgame, then I'm storing it, then I'm getting pgame framework, psystem, all that information that you see in the structure here. So basically, I'm mapping everything to hard-coded storage pointers that I may use later on. But as you can see, I'm using callers. Like for example, if I want to get psystem, let me get to actor system. Sorry, so it's here. So you have S system global environment, then you read the pointer to it, and then you get the system, which is at offset 64, the function, and then you get the actor here. Yeah, and store the result. So if you want to get the actor, you get the pointer to the actor system, which you know how to get from previous observation. Then you read the pointer to it. Then you push this value, this ID, which is 7777. And then you call the function that is referenced by, where was it? By iActor system, which was the 10th, I think. No, the 4th, sorry. So you have 4, 8, no, 0, 4, 8, and this is function number C. So that's why you see the call here being call EX plus C. So if you're supplying that information to this function, you'll see that you get the, so let me just enable the cheat handler, and then go to it, then follow all this information. Hopefully it will not crash. I have to go in game for a sec to press numpad 0. It has to be in, keep snoozing, fuck off. And then here, the code. So pactor system, we already seen it. Where are you? Where are you? This one here. So pactor system is 6C79C1C. It was in game framework. Pactor system. Yeah, I noticed. Sorry, it's 6C79C1C. I looked at ECX instead of looking at EAX. Where is it? Not pgrade framework, this one. Well, I don't know why the values are different. Maybe it's because it's because I loaded the game and, but even so. Oh yeah, that's because this is the pointer to it, not the value that I obtained with the call of get. Well, this happens earlier above in the code. pactor system. This is the one. This was the call. This is how you get the value. You will not see it here. I was trying to look for it. So then you get the pointer. You have EBX set to 7777. You push it because it's one parameter, and then you call a function, the fourth function in pactor system, and then you get to this function that I just showed you. So now if you loop it and exit in a bit, you see that this EAX here is your player. And then the goodies happen when you look at iActor, class iActor. This would be an iActor, and you see that you have set health, get health, set max health, and a ton of other information inside this structure. So if you go to this one here, I think I can also map it. File, new window, structures, define the structure, test 2, let CryEngine do its magic, and then let's look in iActor. I don't want to look for these functions because, well, they're pretty much straightforward, but I want to look for, so you have a pointer to inventory, which is at offset 24 inside this one, and then you have your health stored at offset 94. So if you get float m health and go to offset 94, you have a float here, your health value is 100. Then you have health rounded as percentage, you have health max at 9C. It's still a float. 9C. There you go. And then you also have something like stance at offset 22C. I'm going to show you what happens when I go in-game and change stance. Hexadecimal, let me put it like this. So this is stance. I'm just going to click above it. And then when I go in-game, damn it, options. video basic there you go. Okay, now it's better. So now when I'm right now I'm in yeah, okay. Where are they talking? Oh. Yeah, well, some people don't understand. Well, they don't want to waste time on some stuff that probably they don't understand to begin with. Sorry, hold on. It's on, yeah, it's on my screen. Someone tell him that. Just tell him to join. How to display the registers on the right memory view. On the right of, I don't get it. You'll have to talk. You don't have a microphone or something like that? You mean the colors of the registers?
Yeah.
Well, get the latest version of CryEngine and you'll see them.
Oh, it's in 6.7?
Yeah.
Oh,
This
okay, that's why.
this information appears here only when you debug, so you have to actively debug something. Otherwise, you won't be seeing them.
Okay.
I asked Darby at some point if he would be able to highlight the registers that are corresponding to the line that you're at. Like right now, you can see I have move actor EAX. So that's why EAX is highlighted here. If I move to a line with ECX here, you'll see both ECX and EAX being highlighted because they're in use. I mean, the instruction at that line is going to use those registers. So it's easier to follow where you're at, which registers are actually being used on that particular line of yours. Okay. So I'm not sure if I should wait for people or yeah. But anyway, this is what I'm doing right now here. So I was showing you the stance. So right now, if I go back in game and try to like go prone or crouch or stuff like that, you'll see the 0 under the line that I've just highlighted change to a certain value. Let me just change element to not the decimal. So value is 1, value is 2, value is 1, value is 0. See? This information is probably useful for aimbot coders because they can identify if the person that they're targeting is in a certain stance, or I don't know what they actually use this information for, but it's good that it's mapped. So you can see the stance here. You can also see the breadth, which is a float value, and it's at offset DAC. DAC, where are you? D A. Yeah, it's missing, so I'll just have to insert it. DAC. Float, call it like in breadth. So the value is 1. Let me try and run. Oh, so it's basically not decreasing, or maybe it's just, you think so? Yeah. Now you can see it decrease. So now it's back to 1. So if I add this to the list, add address to list, and then freeze it, and then go scope, and then see, it's not decreasing anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, you can debug it, and from this information, you can just, backtrace to whatever function makes use of this float. And then you can probably patch the breath not to be used at all. Yeah. So it's not the stamina, it's the breath. I was wrong about it. I thought it was the stamina. I didn't see stamina here somewhere. Oh, you also have this bool here which tells you at offset 1376, which tells you if you're holding breath or not. If you're zoomed, it also tells you the current item name, which is at offset 1124. One thing you probably don't know is the fact that when CryEngine tries to back to this one, when CryEngine tries to define the structure size, it sometimes may just end up at 1000 bytes. And if you have an offset like 1124, you're like 124 outside of it. So you can just press insert and just type it in. CryEngine will still do its thing. Just make it a string. Apparently it's 16. And if I add it, you can see that I'm holding a rifle. Now, if I go in-game and change to pistol, see? So this information is in iActor, which is our player. Basically, it's the structure that you would get to if you looked for the value of your health, which is 100. And if you lose health and then stuff like that. Huh? Where did you get the address which are in the dissect? Well, when I began explaining the information that I am presenting right now, I started from this pointer here, and the information is from a thread on unknown cheat forums, whatever, and I've been pasting that for like 3-4 times now. You can find it in the general chat. You can go there. This information that you see in the file here is taken from that thread. So what I tried to do was to map everything here to CryEngine using the dissector, and started from this pointer, which you can see here in the test, test structure that you're seeing here, and then started mapping everything inside the system global environment, all the stuff that you see here. So they're just pointers found at various offsets like 0, 4, 8, C, 10, 1C, 24, etc. inside this location. And the way to find that S system global environment pointer is presented in another thread on unknown cheat forums. But of course, if you joined in later than the start of my presentation, you didn't get to see it. So yeah. And then the thing that I had trouble with was scrolling this window and getting to what was called, so we have the get iActor system, we have the get actor. If you supply it 7777 in hexadecimal as ID, you can get the structure for the actor, which is the structure that I'm looking at right now. And then later on, well, I don't need stance info. Maybe this is useful for, I think the stance information is useful for combinations with bones processing. So the aimbot would know where to find the location of the bone if the player was in prone position or in crouch position or whatever, because the bone locations change depending on your stance, like their coordinates, X, Y, Z. Probably that's why this information is useful for aimbot creators. So I have iActor, And then the view shake, this information here at C40 is, well, it has to be debugged and probably knocked out, but it's the scope shake. So if I enable the scope, you can see it's moving. So if you kill the X shake, like with an op or something, let me just try it. Let's just go to C40 inside the structure. C40, well, it's a float. I don't know why it's a 4-byte. Okay, so now if I add this to the list, problem is if I just freeze it and set it to 0, nothing will happen because it's constantly being written to. But you will see that the scope now tries to get close to the center of the screen. It doesn't deviate that much. So if I do something like, find out what writes to it, then please tell me the game didn't freeze, for fuck's sake. Yeah, so shit like this happens. Oh yeah. But not to worry, I'll have to start the game again. I can keep CryEngine open like this. Or, because I already have them mapped. I was just showing how to get to them. Let me start the game again, and hopefully this time around it won't freeze. I should be looking online for some, command line or something like that. Some command that you can put in the command line, some text, whatever. No intros or something like that. Just disable the fuckers. So I think there should be something like that out there. Yeah, let's see. Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, no intro fix. Intro movie skip. Oh, just rename the movies. Okay. Fine, I'll do that. The Steam library comments. There's only one pack. There's not videos, because if there were videos, individual videos, I would have, it's shit like this. Intro movies. Oh. I wonder if just doing it like this will. Black screen, and then there we go. That was a quick fix. Yeah. So, where I'm getting at, what I wanted to discuss a bit was a fact that I didn't get at some point, but eventually I ended up figuring it out. Come on already. Okay. So, memory view, tools, dissect data structures. I have this one. Then I have this one. So what I need to do is enable cheat handler right now. Go back a bit in game, press numpad 0. And when I do that, you'll see some shit happening in here. So then I want to change this back to the value that I actually need. And then I want my actor, which is this one, to be updated here. There we go. So this is basically what I can do now, really fast. Get some pointers, fill in the structures, and do whatever. This is just from the perspective of, fucking around with manually instead of automatizing it. but it's, well, it's something you don't do every day. So back to the file, I saw that I could probably try again and debug MVU shakex, but you get the point. If you map the information, then the scope, this fucker will not levitate anymore, you know? It will not move around. Yeah. So another information that I wanted to get was probably get physics or stuff like that does help because it's the pointer to physics, and maybe you can, you know, enable fly mode or stuff like that, or no clip, perhaps. I didn't check to see how it works, but if I get the correlation between the various structures, I can probably get there to actually enabling fly, stuff like that. So there's also information in this structure, which is called identity, about the player, the player's name, and for some reason M name here that I will show to you is not Cole Anderson or whatever the guy's name is in this game. That's the name of the character, but yeah, dude. So iActor, where was it? In iEntity. Entity ID, you can also see 7777 again. But where the fuck is in P? No. iEntity, here. So it's a pointer to a string, and the string is dude. Exactly as it's pointed out here. Char mname at offset B4, you can see the offset here. So yeah. Oh, you left the presentation? Oh, yeah, I read not inside anymore as in you left TeamViewer. Inside joke, okay. I didn't read the inside joke bit. Okay, so this is the name of our player. It's called Dude. Okay, this is the shake part. I don't know why. Maybe I don't have the... Well, it's harder in Zvech. It should have worked. Well, fuck it. So the problem that I had further on was with, while all of the structures that you've seen have a correlation between them, you can use system global information offsets to structures and then to functions within those structures to get to iActor. But then how the hell would you use this to get to what I'm about to show you right now, meaning iWeapon or CWeapon? Because if you look inside those structures, you can see that, for example, CWeapon and C-single here have tons of shit like the pointer to the weapon. If you're firing, if you're reloading, if you're firing zoomed or not, projectile ID, the spread, the recoil multiplier, speed scale, spread, min maximum, and so on and so forth. You also have the delay timer for melee, and you also have here, for example, in iWeapon share data, you have the rate of firing, the clip size, maximum amount of clips that you're allowed to get with you. Then you have the reload time, damage. You also have the damage of the bullet, and of course, stuff like this. So I didn't find any relationship between iWeapon or CWeapon and anything else in the systems here, but then I looked at something like how to get to that information was to, well, I started initially by, looking for ammo. You have value 7 there, and then I fired, classic finding of 4 bytes value. and it led to this. This one is bye-bye, and you only have these two. And I know the second one is the real one, because if I fire now, I'll have, oh, so it's the first one. My bad. So if I remove this one and, set this to 1, for example, and fire, I have 0 bullets left. So this is the ammo. But if you debug this and you look for what writes to it, hopefully it will not crash, you see something like this popping up. And this doesn't really help because, or it may help later on, because this information points to a structure that has nothing to do with, points to this structure, and it has nothing to do with everything that I've mapped here in either this location, system global environment, or iActor. So what I needed was a link between system global environment and the actual weapon. So if you look inside iActor, and it will make sense very quickly. You have iActor, which is your player. Then you have inventory. And then inside this inventory, you have at offset 88 and A4 the values for the item that you're currently having equipped. The ID of it is 9FFA2. So if you go back in-game and swap to the pistol, you'll see that the ID changes. They basically change between them. See? Pistol, rifle, and 2 IDs there. Yeah. So then I looked at this code here, and I thought, why don't I actually use the ID of the item? Let's call it item, not a weapon. And I also had here somewhere in the reference pointers something like, where was it? item system. So if you go inside item system, you have this function called getItem. If you give it the ID, of course. So what I did was to get this ID, which is 9FFA2, feed it to this function, like push ID, then call function. And then that would get me to the pointer to the weapon, which is exactly, you can see the current item ID, and then this is the actual structure of it. So this is the C weapon structure that you've seen referenced in the document here, meaning where are you? This one. So then so I have the pointer, but the pointer to C weapon doesn't contain the information like right away. You would still have to get to this value 9, which is somewhere inside the structure, but it's not like close to the beginning of the structure. That was the misleading part I had to understand initially, because the way the code is written here in C tells you that class C weapon is basically comprised of 2 classes, one called iItem, the other one called iWeapon. And the definitions for these classes, you have them above C weapon. So they have to be declared before being used in actually C weapon. So you have iWeapon here, then you have iItem. So my understanding of iItem is the size of it is 374 in hexadecimal. You have the size here. So basically, if I go inside this pointer, which is the one that you're seeing right now, 3239F560, and count 374 bytes, I get to class iWeapon. And this is the exact information that you'll be seeing like right now. Hold on, let me keep actor, open, window, structures, C weapon, and just feed it this pointer. So you have 00, which is this virtual void blah blah blah. I also noticed that at offset 1C8, this is my personal analysis, I found the owner, meaning you have the ID of the player, of the actor that is holding that weapon, that item, let's call it item for now. And then at 374, after the first class item has been red, this one, you get the next class, which is class iWeapon. Now, if you expand the class iWeapon, you have several functions inside it. I didn't look for get ammo count. Well, I did look for get ammo count, set ammo count, and whatever. And these are at offsets 68, 60C, and 70C. These here. This is already a class, so I don't need the first pointer to get to these functions. They're already referenced directly. So if you count the 27th function in this pile here, you'll get ammo count. And if I take this function and just, for the sake of the argument, go in memory view, go there, break at it, and, trace it, and look at the value that I get at the end of the function in EAX, you'll see that the value is 9. Now if I go back in-game, well, I have 9 bullets, damn it. Cool. As I said, most of these functions should break. Set ammo count is something that you'll see breaking when, for example, I'm trying to reload the weapon. Right now it's not breaking because I don't do anything. So if I press on R key and my weapon starts being reloaded, you'll see a break. And this break, if you look at the stack, you'll see this is the amount the weapon is being reloaded with, which is value 10. This is a pointer to, I think, the ID of the weapon or stuff like that. And of course, this is the return location. So if I parkour this function, look at value 9 here, boom, value is 10, and it happened exactly here. Move EDX, EX14, blah, blah, blah. Now value is 10. And I have 10 bullets in my clip. So that was set ammo count. You have P ammo type, that's a pointer to the ammo type that you're reloading. I didn't know how to explain this one, the pointer that was here in the stack. And considering that C weapon is a structure, a class that is comprised of 2 classes, and the total size of it is 83A, and of course the size of item is 374, then it's very easy to take A3A, subtract 374, and say that this one here has size, because it was not, written in. There you go. So this is iWeapon. And the fun part in iWeapon is you have pointers to some information, some other structures that are being referenced further down. The one that I couldn't find the offset to is C single, but I could look at it by simply, where is it? C single. There. It's at offset 384, and I didn't find anything in the code here. But what I was able to do with it was to try to identify in the C single where 15, 16 offsets are coming into play. And this information surfaced, I think, when I tried to look at set ammo and then seeing where this exits, because it will take me back to a certain function where those offsets 15 and 16 are being used. So let me fire, and then let's reload. So now if I look at ESP, meaning the return address, let me just remove this, go to ESP, and I'm inside a function like this. So if you look at in the beginning of this function, you see ESI plus 15, ESI plus 16, and these are basically the references. So what I actually needed to understand is who is ESI. So Let me fire again. Let me reload. And then once I debug and get to ESI, I see that ESI's value is this one. And of course, then I looked inside the structure of the weapon, C weapon, and I found that the pointer to it, meaning this one, as you can see, it's at offset 384. So this one is the one that you're seeing here where my mouse is. And then, of course, what I did was to, map the whole structure by offsets, and this is the information that you're seeing here. So right now, if I change some information inside the structure, I can easily, for example, if I change the spread, my weapon won't fire so well in berserk mode, but will fire in a single spot, meaning I basically hijacked accuracy. If I change this one to 0, from 1 to 0, I don't have any recoil. If I change the M speed scale, what this will do is to modify the bullet speed. Yeah, you did, but the others that are watching didn't. Then you have the recoil value here, which you can easily, debug and kill it. Let's see if I can do this. Add this address to the list. See, value changes, and it should always be 0. Right. Okay, so I have stuff like this going on, and if I fire, I have an FSTP like this one. Considering no one else is using or firing any weapons right now, I'll just, let me just NOP it, maybe, or just do an FSTP 0 again. I don't know. Let's just NOP it for the time being. So if I fire again, oh, NOPing it actually does the full screen recoil. My screen just went out like, woo! Well, you get the idea. You can fuck around with the function here, and or maybe if I just do this, FSTP, FSTP, there are 2 FSTPs. I don't know. There, it doesn't jump by much, because I'm pretty sure around it there are some other floats like this one that should stay 0, I think. Let me fire again. Yeah. So basically these have to be, this one has to be probably NOPed as well to get a full recoil and so on and so forth. So this is the quick guide of figuring out the details that you've seen in this file. And the link is this one here. You can see what the guy posted. You can see the namespace, blah, 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 all the way down. So yeah, that was about it for a quick ride. Thing is, what I noticed in yeah. I have the info for the structures, that's true, but what I said is once you map stuff out in your game, you can most likely get the sorry? Who's talking?
It's rare, so okay, I was asking my friend to lower the sound. Continue.
Oh yeah, so if you, sorry, no issue. You can talk over. I just wasn't sure who he's talking to. Just reply, Probably I heard something in the meantime, and I heard something, but I didn't understand it, so I didn't know if I am to reply or not.
Yeah, that's Persian. Okay, just a minute. Can you just tell me a brief what about you're talking about? What's the CryEngine? Was it?
Yeah.
All right, continue.
So all in all, you don't necessarily need to know which are the structures, but if you have like a game, for example, where people have created a namebot or something like that, and you have a mapping that they've done, for x64, you can probably use that information to try to create your own SDK, like mapping those offsets, like this guy did here in Sniper Ghost Warrior 2 for your game. And for example, if you don't know which are the structures and whatever, you don't have the information, you can just follow the first tutorial, the one that I referenced. I think it was this one. So this chick here tells you how to find some of the stuff. But of course, this is x86, and it's a game called Warface. It's a multiplayer game, shooter, stuff like that. And she actually tells you how to look for information with IDA Pro, which is exactly what I've shown earlier. And you can at least find the first pointer, which is this one, S System Global Environment. Even if it's an x64 game, you can find this one, and then, just use the dissector to try to figure out which pointer, which offset in the structure points to which system, and so on and so forth. So you'll just have to do some trial and error. You cannot get them from the beginning. That's why probably it will take you a bit of time. But once you do, the important thing is to get from this pointer to actor, and then from actor to weapon, and then you basically have mapped the information that you needed. Probably with some correlation, you can also get to, I don't know, power systems or whatever you have in Prey, or skills or bullshit like that. So you can do a ton of shit with just simple correlations, because at the end of it all, if you think of it, you have you're the player in a game, in a shooter game. Imagine you're a U.S. soldier, and you're sent to, I don't know, Pakistan, and you have to pack stuff with you. So I wanted to say Iraq, not Pakistan. No, I thought of Pakistan. I'm not sending any U.S. soldiers to you. Just realized what I said. So yeah, you have the soldier. The soldier is the entity. You have to get to, in a few years perhaps, you have to get to the entity somehow, and that's the way in CryEngine you get that pointer, and then you get the system for players, and then inside that system you can give it the player ID, and then you get the structure for the player, and this is your soldier. And then of course the soldier has to pack some items with him, which is a weapon, flashbang, whatever. All of those are considered items, structures on their own, and of course these items should be carried in an inventory. So you have the player, you have the inventory, that is the link between them, player, inventory, and inside the inventory you have some IDs for these weapons. And of course there are functions that use that ID of the weapon with the ID of the player, so the function knows for which player it has to return the address for which weapon. And then if you run that function, you get the structure of the weapon that you're carrying. And of course, then if you look inside the structure of the weapon, you will find information like bullets, ammo, stuff like that, recoil, other information. So it's a link between multiple structures. That's how games work. But they're based on, as you can see, reality. So each structure, like the weapon, the bullets, whatever, are subsystems of the player that you can find using well, I don't know if you've seen the presentation from the beginning, but you can get the actor, and then you can get all the subsystems inside actor, and all the subsystems inside other systems like the weapon system and the bullet system. You can probably, that's how Pox did some of the stuff, where he basically was sniping with a bazooka. You can change the weapon ID probably, and then do tons of stuff. Or he swapped bullets. Like he had a sniper weapon, but he was firing, bazooka or bazooka ammo or grenades or stuff like that. So basically that bullet contained the information of the bullet or the projectile of another weapon. He basically hijacked the pointer in such a way that the bullet contained other properties other than the original ones. So if you see stuff like this happening in games, then this is mostly how this is done. I wanted to do this for myself because I was curious on, for example, in Prey and in Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, I've studied the engine quite long enough to get accustomed with some of the functions or some of the ways to get some structures, but I didn't know the name of the structures. Right now I have the chance to, apply information from the game, from the CryEngine SDK to the actual game and put a label on them. Basically, what I wanted to learn was what was the name of the function, what was the name of the pointer, and how to map everything inside that. So this is the next phase that I'm going to do. I'm not doing it right now, so it will take a bit. I want to take this information that I learned here and try to, create my own mini SDK for either Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 or Prey. Even though the games are worn out, they don't have too much replayability. Probably you don't like the games as well, but I just want to understand how everything is mapped because it's more logical this way to be able to get to what you need without having to look for random values in memory, scanning, debugging, placing hooks to, hooking some small function to get a pointer to the player. And even though that's a quick turnaround and you can, probably create trainers faster, then I can probably generate this dissection here, then, well, that's not my actual aim. But either way, I hope this was interesting, and yeah.
Sunday.
I can probably automate this in some way. Yeah.
When you're doing the structure dissect, is it only by the address of it, or can you do the point? Because when I try to do it for something, it does the address which resets.
Well, in this case, as system global environment is an actual address. It's a pointer to a structure, but this pointer is being read from a certain location. And hold on a second. And as you can see, I have it here in my list as a pointer. So the actual address is this one. But in order to read as system global environment address, you have to, put the brackets. So if you look at the first window, this one, you can see that I'm actually reading from it. You can see the bracket here.
So you're going off the...
Yeah, so either I use it like this or just, type in 383F AEB8, the value that you see here. So you have two ways to write data there. Either like this or, you just take the pointer and make sure you use brackets. Brackets and shove this in, and it's the same thing. But in my situation, as you can see, whatever is in this window here is static unless I restart the game. The actor structure will always change if I load another map or exit to main menu or whatever, because there's some active stuff going on in-game, like creating or destroying structures, like the player is being created when you enter a map. It's being initialized. And that's why this address that you see here, 209BD0, will always change. So if you look at, for example, my list here, you have actor, p-actor, and you have the pointer here. But now if I exit to main menu and, enter the game again, it's funny how the game freezes a bit in mid-game before actually releasing the context. So now I'm back in game. I'm just going to hit numpad 0 because that's the key, the hotkey I used for the cheat handler. And if you look at pactor that is being highlighted right now, you'll see that it will change. Basically, most of the stuff will change in terms of pointers. See, I pressed numpad 0, and this one now changed. And what I'll have to do is to update the information here with the new pointer, because everything in this structure relates to the iActor, or the pactor that you see here. And the pactor value, the address of it is different now. So if I paste it in here, everything gets back to normal, as you can see them. So the structures are, the skeleton of the structure is the same, but the address pointing to it will have to change. And that is because the actor got reinitialized. The same thing will happen for the weapon. As you can see, the address is different. The current item, this is the pointer, and this was the initial one, then I have to paste it here as well. So now you can see the weapon, you can see C-single, and all the information here. So these two will have to be updated because both the player and the weapon, and of course inventory and whatever other structures are linked to the player, are being reinitialized, meaning reallocation, meaning reinitializing, writing of data and stuff that's going on inside the engine. And by the time you enter the map, you'll have a different address for the player. But this one always stayed the same because, you know, it's a pointer read from a static address.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, except when the game updates, because you'll have to find the pointer again. But this tutorial here teaches you how to actually get to that pointer. You look for a string, which is called AI compatibility mode. Then you have to take a quick peek at some xrefs, some references to that string, where it's used, and then you get to where the string is actually used, and then you convert that code with a hex race to actually pseudocode in C++, and you can see this double word here, D word underscore whatever, and then it's just being renamed to what we now know as being S system global environment. And this information that you're looking at is being also referenced in the actual documentation for CryEngine. Somewhere in here in the code, CryEngine, CryAction. Well, somewhere in here, there are some C++ headers, like this one, for example, and you can see this code. It pretty much looks like the one that you're seeing here, C++. If I look for this one, but I have to open all of the, yeah, let's see. Let's try. So what I'm going to do is go inside this folder. Let's go for H, headers. No, doesn't work this way. Code, and then do. There we go. I think those would be all. Yeah, well, it doesn't work like that. What I actually want to do is to also check the files. So I'll have to launch them in Notepad++, and then hopefully it doesn't take an awful amount of time. You've probably seen Notepad++ freeze right now, but I'm still here. Upgrade to what? I've just opened like 15,000 or 1,500 files, and it takes a while to load everything in memory, not to mention I have the game running and upgrade my ass. Just be patient. Yeah, sure, but it won't take that much time on yours, but you are still the one that was complaining, that the game loads it takes a while to load. I'm talking about Prey. And on my PC, Prey loads very, very fast. So if Prey loads very, takes a while to load on your PC and it doesn't on mine, then I'm pretty sure that launching I don't know, 1500 files in memory, it will take a while on yours as well. Okay. In the meantime, everything here loaded. So if I look for system global environment, will you take a look at that? Well, closing this file. This one was the file that I was looking at, but if you look inside, so you have it in iSystemH, system global environment. And you also have it in engine module and plugin. These two are not important. So let's look at this one. Struct system global environment. Will you look at that? So this is the structure. This is the way the structure is being defined, but you also need to find a pointer to it. So now if I close everything but this, no. Yeah. You can fill the rest of the structure, but what I want to do is to compare the C. No, it didn't freeze. I just closed everything but that file, so it will take a bit to unload everything from memory. In the meantime, I'll just, get rid of this. Okay. So if I take this back here, come on, then move it to another window and close this, and then, language, set this to C++ and take a look at them. And I mean these, you can see that you have P system, I system, but the I system in here is where? I'm blind. Point it out here. See, it's not the same order. I system in this class is at offset 0. Then you have iGame, and iGame is like, where is it? Why am I so pgame framework? No, that's the game framework. I'm looking for iGame, not iGame framework. Yeah, this is iGame framework, and this is iGame framework. I want to find this one, iGame. I don't see it. Maybe it's... I'm a lion at the... Or maybe it's further down? No. Maybe it's this one, i3dEngine? No, because i3dEngine is referenced here. Yeah, okay. Maybe it has a different name. I don't know. Whatever. Then you have physical world, whatever. So you can see that the order is not the same. So, but you can see the structure, and well, you can see the structure of the class. Here it's a structure, but here it's a class. So probably that's why it allows you to read information in unordered order. So yeah, this was the quick tour of what I did for 2 days. Wrapping my head around trying to figure out that information, and it does help because now I have a pretty solid understanding of the linking between the structures. And well, my next thing will be to try to do it for another CryEngine game, hopefully Prey or Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, but I think I'll go with Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 because sometimes when people move from, I don't know, x86 to x64, but the engine is the same, and the structure of the code is pretty much the same. Well, and they just add some new features in. You basically have the same base. So if I'm moving from Sniper Ghost Warrior 2 to Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, all I have to worry about would probably be the X64 convention, but the structure of those classes would probably be the same. So I'd be on the right path, finding them out very easily. But what I want to try initially is to see how it works on X64, because all the games, Warface and Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, are on x86. And there's a difference in terms of how the structures look like. They're not 4 bytes anymore, they're 8 bytes. The offsets will probably be further down the road. Structures will have bigger size. And yeah, figuring the offsets will be a pain in the ass probably. But code resemblance, hopefully. So that's about it from my part. Hope I entertained you. Oh, very. So in short words and very briefly, you don't need to debug code if you can map everything to structures and make use of those structures in your trainers or whatever. You don't actually need to hook any piece of code. But of course, those functions that you've seen do not do God mode, for example. But of course, if you use the get cvar and set cvar functions from within CryEngine, you can set some variables that would toggle God mode on and off. But in terms of hooking or stuff like this, you still have to press keys. As in, like, when you want to update your health. Yeah, you wanted myself to, fuck you. You just wanted to let me hear myself out, huh? Okay, guys, I'm just going to close the, no more questions. So I'm just going to close the team view.